Welcome to another update on Anubis by MRC, and we've got a lot of work done, 5 hours worth of work, and that's why I didn't record any of it, because who wants to sit there and watch a 5-hour video. But we've got the body all cleaned up using our foam sanding stick and scraping with our X-Acto blade, and using a hard sanding stick in some areas, and we've got his body cleaned up pretty good without having to use any filler. The body went together really well. I was surprised. We'll be using filler though, because the arms are not that good as far as fit to the body, so that's where all the filler work will be in the arms. So we got that done. After I got that done, I went and started assembly of the headpiece here, or his gauntlet, I guess, or not gauntlet, his helm. We've got that put together. That was just a two-piece, 2 halves, and we've got that together and cleaned up. When you're working with a kit like this, especially a plastic kit, which kind of like an Aurora kit, what you want to do where the 2 halves go together, you just want to take and lightly scrape and at the seam line, because paint will always pull away from a sharp edge, and that's what you have when you join 2 halves together. You have a sharp edge. That's how you see that seam line, because it's a sharp edge is what your eyes are picking up. So you don't want to use a sanding stick, especially on something like this, because of all that detailing. If you start putting a sanding stick to this, you're going to lose all that detail, and it's a shame to lose it, because it's what makes the headpiece, the helm. So what I like to do is just lightly scrape the seam and knock that really sharp edge off. And since we're using craft acrylics, you know, the craft acrylics will hide a lot of the line here, because the craft acrylics will, you know, it's a thicker paint, so it'll cover that up. And we won't lose much of our detailing just by lightly scraping it and getting rid of that sharp edge. But we did that on the back side, we did it on the front side. Back here I'm not going to worry about, because his shoulders are going to hide this. I'm only worried about this right here and up front where you're going to see it. But we've got that done. We've got the hole drilled for the wiring. I made a bigger hole for the wires on this one, easier just to snake it through with a bigger hole. So we got that taken care of. After I did that, I went to probably the hardest part of this whole thing, and that's cutting the eyes out on Anubis's face here. The reason why it was so difficult was because for some reason this piece is extremely thick. So is the back piece of his head. It's really thick plastic, and I think they might have done that to give the ear some support, but I'm not too sure why the face is so thick. But I thought, well, I'm not going to be able to cut that out with an X-Acto blade as thick as that plastic is, so I had to take my circuit board drills and be really, really careful and go slow, because I didn't want it to break in the eye and it'd be screwed. But I started with a green one, I drilled 1 hole. I took a blue one and drilled in the center of the eye. This was toward the front of the eye, this was the center, and this was the back of the eye where it goes into a slant, a smaller hole. Drilled 3 holes into each eye, and then carefully with my X-Acto blade cut the plastic out, and then went back with a surgical blade, because these are thinner than an X-Acto blade and they'll flex, because, you know, I need that flex in the blade to get in there and clean the back of the eye and the front of the eye out, and to get it looking somewhat presentable. And I went both inside and outside to clean up the plastic, so we had no plastic, you know, blocking the light and showing through when the eyes light up. So that took me about 3 hours. That was the longest part of this whole thing, was cleaning the eyes out, but we got the eyes cleaned out. The back of his head here, I took my Dremel motor and my router bit and got rid of some of that excess plastic and made like a little well here for the SMD, and it'll be pointing obviously towards his eyes, his front of his face here, and that should light the eyes up pretty good. It goes together like this. That's how it goes together. So it should look pretty good. We'll use some Tester's window maker to put in the eyes to give it like a lens. So that's pretty good. The head I'm treating as a sub-assembly because I don't want to try to put the head on now. It'll be really hard to paint the back side of him because you got this piece that goes down over his back, and it'll just be a pain in the ass trying to paint his main body with his helm on. So I'm not going to do that. I'll treat it as a sub-assembly, and we'll paint that up first and paint the helm here, headpiece, and then we'll put the two together. It'll be easier just to paint. We got the arms all put together. Now the staff is one piece, and you're supposed to put the staff in when you glue the two halves of his right arm together. But I wasn't going to do that. That'd be a pain in the ass trying to work with this installed into the arm. So I went ahead and glued the arm together, and what I'll do when the time comes is where I have the Sharpie mark is the area that's going to be inside his hand. You're not going to see it. So I'm going to take a razor saw and just cut it right here. And I'll slide the bottom of the staff up through the bottom of his hand, glue the two pieces back together, and then drop it down where it's covered up by his hand, and you won't even notice that it's been cut. So that's how we're going to do the staff. It's pretty nice. They did a great job on the staff. Got a lot of nice detailing on it, and it's nice and straight. So that's pretty cool, and that's how we're going to do the staff. We'll just put it on when we're all done, and that'll be probably the last thing we put on is the staff. So that's where we're at on Anubis in this segment. We got everything, just getting everything cleaned up and getting rid of a lot of the seam lines, trying to use not too much filler, so it'll look nice. We don't have to sand and lose any of our fine detailing because there's just a lot of detailing on this that I really don't want to lose. It was done quite well. So now we got all that done, the hardest part done. We'll next step is to put the arms on. We'll glue them on, and that's where all our filler work's going to be, because the fit between the arms and the body is not the greatest. It's actually poor, but it's not a big deal. We can use our Vallejo acrylic putty and get that filled in, and I might save it for another segment. One thing on the arm too, his right arm has a tattoo up here on the shoulder, and they have it engraved in his arm, which is a nice touch. It's pretty cool they included his tattoo. But what I might do is sand that off, and I have this image, and I might just make a decal and make his tattoo a decal, because that'd be a pain in the ass trying to paint that design on, since it's engraved, and I just think it'd be a hassle to try to paint it. So I just might sand that off and then use a decal in its place. I think it'd be better, look better. Okay, that's it for this segment. We'll be right back, and we should have his arms on. Alright, so we've got our first coat of filler on. Well, we got the arms on, then we put our first layer of filler to get rid of the seams between the body and the arms. So we'll let this dry, and then we'll throw another coat on there and start sanding, and hopefully get rid of all those seams. And then we sanded his tattoo here. I put a little filler in there. We'll sand it again. As I said earlier, we'll be using a decal for that. So we got that taken care of. While I was waiting for that to dry, I went ahead and put together the head Anubis. And after I put the head together, I used Tester's Window Maker to put a lens in each eye to help diffuse the light, and obviously not have a hole there. And this is it right here that I use. And after that dried, I went and installed the SMD. And originally I was going to put the SMD back here where I hollowed out like a little well for it. But I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it was lighting up the eyes. So I changed plans and took a bit of the kit sprue and super glued the SMD on top of the sprue, then glued the sprue inside the head here to where the SMD is just about below the eyes. So it's throwing the light up towards the top of the head, and I think it looks much better. Now I'll hook a battery up so you can see, but it's going to appear white on my camera, but it really is blue. My camera has a hard time with LEDs and SMDs, so it's going to look white, but it really is blue. So you can kind of see the eyes there, and you can see by my hand that it's blue. So you've got that taken care of, and I'll let this dry overnight so we don't break anything, and then we can go ahead and just run this down through the hole and out the bottom, and then we can glue the headpiece on, or glue the head on the headpiece, and then we'll take it from there. So that's what I've got done so far, and we're up to probably 15 or probably 13 or 14 minutes. I think that's enough because we have to let this dry anyway, and I have to let the filler dry. So we're going to do all that, continue working on the body, getting those seams between the body and the arms taken care of, and once we get that done, then we'll stop, and then I'll start making the base out of the foam board and get that taken care of. And then once we get that done, then we can start the painting process, and once we get everything taken care of. So that's it for this video, and we'll see you on the next update, and take care and peace.